Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Today I'm going to review the Raymond Weil Millesime Small Second. These are two versions of the Small Second. There are more, and since it came out a few years ago, Raymond Weil has bolstered the larger Millesime collection with a bunch of different models. So there are not only different color variations of the Small Seconds, that also comes on bracelets, but there's also different complications. There's a chronograph, there's a moon phase, there's a smaller size as well. So the Millesime family is really a whole collection of watches, but it started with the Small Second. And this one in particular, I think won Raymond Weil an award, the GPHG, and they were quite proud of that at the time. And it was, I think, the first time they had ever even participated in something like that. It was a bit of a surprise because it's a relatively inexpensive watch and quite humble, but it's very, very satisfying. This is a newer version of the Millesime Small Second that they call the Tuxedo, and there is a standard black and white one, which is more traditionally Tuxedo. This one has a white and grape color version of the alternative color there. You can see it's sort of this metallic, it looks kind of red at first, but it is sort of a purplish grape, and it's very, very attractive. You can see that the dial layout is, of course, the same hands and subsidiary seconds position, but the hour markers and the style of the dial a little bit different. You have Arabic numerals on the Tuxedo, baton markers on the traditional first version of the Millesime Small Seconds. I like both of them. I feel that they're both very legible, and they do a good job at being classic, emulating an older style, but also being very modern, contemporary, and wearable. And I'll wear each of these watches one at a time so you can see the different personality. The reason I wanted to do a video about these is that over time, I think the Millesime has aged into quite a great watch. It takes on different personalities, depending, of course, on the particular version you have. But as a daily wear dress watch, or just as a dress watch, I think that there's a lot to like here. Let's look at the case first. This is a steel case that looks simple, but is actually quite complicated. You have these interesting lug structures that aren't your standard lug. It's kind of have this rounded bulbous tip, and lugs come in different sizes. I'm not saying these are original, but it adds personality to it. You see a brushed side. You see a bezel that's an interesting design. You see the box style sapphire crystal, which allows the watch to look a little bit thinner, yet have sort of a full dial and space for the hands. It has, again, a lot of personality, even though it is essentially a simple round watch case. The size is 39.5 millimeters wide. The lugs are 20 millimeters wide. The case is 10.25 millimeters thick, and the watch is water resistant to 50 meters. Let's put on the first version of the Small Second here. I really fell in love with this watch. Gray is not a color that I go to all the time, but it is very versatile. So this gray strap with light gray dial, I just think it's very handsome. You see a sort of sector dial there, at least it's half sector dial. There's the horizontal line, not necessarily the vertical line of the crosshairs that would make up a sector dial. But I think it looks really, really great. It is a very handsome looking watch in terms of style, very legible, easy to see the time. You could pull it off with something dressy. It's definitely has a casual vibe to it. The straps, as you can see, are all on quick release spring bars, so you can swap them out if you wanted to wear something else. This kind of lighter gray strap that comes on the Tuxedo Grape, I don't know that that's the perfect one all the time. It's definitely a particular look. I can see this watch looking really nice on a whole variety of straps. Same goes for this silver dial. The darker gray leather strap looks great, but there's a lot of different colors that this could go well with. You could do black. You could get a little bit more spirited with color. In fact, the great thing about a dial such as this that is, again, mostly monochromatic or completely monochromatic, it means that different types of strap colors will work well. You put a red strap on here, a yellow strap, green strap, blue strap, whatever color you want will actually go well with these gray tones that you have on the dial of something like the Millesime Small Seconds in this particular version. By the way, if you're interested in reference numbers, this is the 2930 STC 60001, and there's a similar version that's also the 2930 STC 65001. One is an anthracite version and one is a a silver version. And then here with the Tuxedo, this is the reference 2930 STC 05450. I say these numbers because sometimes people need them, though it is definitely not something that I get too excited about in a watch review, is rattling off reference numbers. Speaking of reference numbers, the movement inside of this is the Raymond Weil Caliber RW 4251. That is a rebranded Sellita SW260-1. The 260 is basically the SW200 with a subsidiary second. So rather than having a central seconds, it's a subsidiary seconds. You can see the movement through the caseback, and I think they actually do a pretty nice job offering an exhibition caseback there. It's nice and big. You can see the movement in its entirety. The custom rotor for Raymond Weil with that skeletonized W there, that's pretty cool. This is, again, a standard execution of the movement, not heavily decorated, but again, at this price point, I think this is definitely satisfying. What kind of performance can you get out of the SW260? It operates at 4 Hertz with about 2 days of power reserve, and it is a very hardy automatic movement that you'll find in a lot of watches. Maybe not the 260 version, but the 200, absolutely. Another thing to mention about this watch is sort of how it competes in the landscape of other similar watches out there that are dress watches. For a long time, if you wanted a Swiss-made Geneva-based dress watch, it was going to cost you a lot of money or be really, really boring and unappealing and not nice. The domain of dress watches from Geneva-based brands, which Raymond Weil is, was mostly quite expensive. You would get a nice watch, but you were going to get something in gold or with sort of a fancier movement. And the market for dress watches really kind of dried up for a long time. And that makes a lot of sense because people were buying mostly sport watches. Raymond Weil was selling a lot of freelancers and other types of watches that you could call sportier or more casual. And for a long time, it really did look as though the market just simply didn't want dress watches. Then a few interesting things happened. First, vintage style watches came back to being in vogue. Then smaller size cases started coming back in vogue, as well as thin watches, and dress watches tend to be smaller and thinner so they're comfortable. But then after that, the sport watch craze never goes away, but it also became supplemented by a new interest in formal watches or watches that are a little bit dressier or for special social occasions. Maybe not a business or suit watch or professional watch in the classic sense. Maybe not celebratory like the Tuxedo watch. Not a lot of people are going to dress up at tuxedos anymore, but there's definitely been more of an interest of a watch that says, I'm a classy individual, I have a refined sense of taste, I do go to occasions on a regular basis where I need to look my best. So the well-priced, well-made, well-designed dress watch is coming back. It makes a lot of sense to get something like this from a brand like Raymond Weil that tends to do a good job, especially at these price points. There are other options out there, and I think it's important for people to look around. The 39.5 millimeter size case is great for me. You could go a little bit smaller. I think a little bit bigger might be too big for a classic dress watch size, but this is really great in my opinion, and both myself and a lot of people have enjoyed wearing the Raymond Weil Small Second Millesime. Price for both of these versions of the Raymond Weil Millesime Small Second is $2,295. You can see a full review of both of these watches and other Millesime models on the aBlogtoWatch.com website, and of course you can learn more at the Raymond Weil website. Thank you so much, and let me know what you think about these watches in the comments.